There's a specific kind of person who can be standing in a room full of friendly people, holding a drink at the correct angle, smiling at the right moments, and feel a part of themselves slowly leaking out through the floor. Someone says, quote, underscore zero, underscore, and you say the thing, they say the polite thing back, and somewhere inside you, a quiet voice goes, please, can we just stop pretending this is a conversation? The smile is still on your face. Your soul has already left the building. If you ever felt that, welcome. You're not antisocial. You don't hate people. You probably love your closest friends with a fierce, specific kind of attention that most people never quite get from anyone.
You're kidding me.
But small talk? Small talk feels less like connection and more like running a software update on your brain while pretending to enjoy it. There's actual neuroscience behind why this happens, and once you understand it, you'll stop feeling like the weird one at every party. Start with what small talk actually is. It's social grooming. That's not me being cynical, it's the term anthropologists use. Low-stakes verbal signals that say, quote one. For most of human history, this was incredibly useful. A friendliness check that let two strangers establish they weren't about to fight or rob each other. For most people, it's actually pleasant, a low-cost way to feel slightly more connected. So why does it drain you specifically? Here's where it gets interesting. In 1974, at the University of Minnesota, Auke Tellegen and Gilbert Atkinson identified a personality trait they called absorption. They built a 34-item scale to measure it, and the trait turned out to predict something specific. People high in absorption have a brain that gets deeply immersed in whatever it's processing. When they're reading a book, they're inside the book. When they're listening to music, the music is happening to them. When they're thinking about an idea, they're inside it, turning it over, following its threads, feeling where it connects to other ideas. Their default mode of attention is depth, not breadth. Research suggests about 15 to 20% of the population scores high on absorption, the same range, by the way, as researchers later identified for highly sensitive people. Wild, right? It's not coincidence. These traits cluster. Now picture what happens when a high absorption brain meets small talk. Small talk requires you to skim. You make eye contact, say the script, smile at the right moment, move on. The conversation never lands anywhere. It's designed not to land. That's the whole point. For a brain wired for shallow engagement, that's fine, effortless. But for a brain wired for absorption, the same activity feels like driving with the parking brake on. You're using all the same cognitive equipment you'd use for a deep conversation, but you're not allowed to actually use any of it. So you sit in that gap, smiling politely, while the inside of your head says, is this it? Are we really doing this? There's a historical detour worth taking. William James, writing in 1890, made an observation about how attention works that's still one of the most quietly important things ever said about the mind. He noticed that the mind is constantly choosing between two modes, the focused gaze and the wandering gaze. Focused attention narrows in and goes deep. Wandering attention skims across many things shallowly. Both are useful. Both are human. But individual brains have preferences. Some find their natural rest in focused depth, others in wandering breadth. Neither is better, just different operating systems running on the same hardware. Small talk is the wandering gaze system in social form. If your brain is a depth machine, every cocktail party feels like being forced to use software you didn't install. Picture this.
Happy holidays, everyone. It's been a great year.
You're 31.
Cheers to the team.
You're at a company holiday party in December. 5 people in a circle, all friendly, talking about the regional sports team, the weather, a new restaurant on Pike Street. You've tried the restaurant. You have interesting opinions about it. You read about food chemistry as a hobby and could tell anyone exactly why the sauce works the way it does. But the conversation moves on to weekend plans before you get there. Then weather again. Then a TV show you haven't watched. By the time someone finally turns to you and says, "So, what about you?" you're already exhausted. Not from speaking, from 17 minutes of standing there with a brain that wanted to chase 3 deep threads and wasn't allowed to follow any of them. That's the part most people don't see from the outside. You look fine. You're smiling. You're holding a drink at the correct angle. But internally, you're running a process that uses way more energy than it should because your brain keeps trying to engage and getting redirected to the surface. Susan Cain, in her book Quiet, noticed something about people like this. They often love deep talk so much that they get accused of being intense. They'll meet someone at a party, cut past the script in the first 30 seconds and be 3 layers down into the other person's actual life before either finishes their first drink. Then someone walks by and says, quote, 3, and the spell breaks. They hate having to climb back to the surface because going deep wasn't the problem. The shallows were. Here's the part worth saying clearly. There's a difference between 2 things that get confused all the time. Hating small talk
Good morning.
and hating
We were just
people.
chatting. Do you want to join us?
Plenty of people who
sorry.
hate small talk love humans with an embarrassing degree of intensity. They write friends long messages. They remember things you mentioned 6 months ago. They will sit on the phone with you for 2 hours when you're going through
Everything is
something.
fine here,
The
but I
thing
need
they
you to
don't want to
listen
do
very They
is
can still come
generate
back from
40
it, they just
seconds of
need to
pleasant
execute the
noise
plays.
about a sports
Execute,
team neither of you actually cares about. That's not antisocial.
and then
That's
she
not
said the most
snobby.
unbelievable
That's not even
thing.
introverted exactly.
I finally
There are
finished the
extroverts
entire
who hate
project
small
all
talk
by
too.
myself. I didn't
It's a
even check the
different
instructions
thing
again.
entirely. That's not being rude. That's being depth-oriented. Your brain isn't refusing to socialize. It's refusing to socialize in a format that doesn't match how it works. The 8-year-old version of you, sitting at the dinner table asking adults what they actually thought about something instead of how their day was, that kid wasn't broken. That kid was running the operating system you're still running. The rest of the world just spent 20 years convincing you the
Congratulations on
operating
the
system was
diploma.
wrong,
We're gonna hang
that
it
you
right
should
here.
learn to do the friendliness check like
Excellent.
everyone else. So you learned the script. You can do small talk now. You just can't do it without it costing you something every single time. And here's what's worth understanding about that cost. People who hate small talk often have a particular gift. They notice. They remember the actual specifics of what someone told them. They pick up on the part of a story the storyteller didn't realize they were emphasizing.
Revealing the
They
hidden
ask the
aspects.
second
And
question,
inside,
not the
We
polite
move
one,
from the first
the real
question,
one.
and as this
The one that
expands,
makes the other
the
person
second question
pause and say, they are, for the people lucky enough to get past the cocktail party layer with them, often the best listeners anyone has. The same brain that can't stand, "How was your weekend?" is the brain that, 3 weeks later, will remember the offhand thing you said about your dad and ask you about it again, in private, in a way that makes you cry a little because nobody else seemed to register it. There's a scene in Lost in Translation that captures
really
this
what you want?
exactly. 2 people at a hotel bar in Tokyo, both insomniac, both quietly lonely. They start talking. Not about anything in particular, but there's no small talk. Within 2 minutes, they're in the actual thing, what they're afraid of,
told you
what
it
they
would get
don't
better
tell their
once the crowd
spouses,
left.
what they don't even tell
Okay.
themselves most days. The whole film is a love letter to people who hate small talk and what happens when 2 of them recognize each other across a room full of people performing it. And maybe that's the most depth-oriented thing of
This
all.
wine is actually
Sitting
quite
at a
good.
hotel bar in Tokyo
agree.
at 2 a.m.,
Ambiance here is
finding
perfect.
someone who
Why
doesn't
don't you-
ask you how your flight
Another round.
was. The work isn't to fix yourself. The work is to stop apologizing for the way your brain works. Find the few people who don't make you skim and protect
Hey,
the
I haven't
energy
seen
you
you
have
around
left
before.
for them.
Are you friends with Sarah?
Next video on Wednesday,
Yeah, I just-
there's a related but different type worth knowing about. People who go quiet in groups. Not the same thing as hating small talk. Their brain is doing something else, something most people get completely wrong. If this resonated with you, subscribe. There's a lot more like it coming.